In all my years of wandering this world, observing people and their habits, I've uncovered something truly eye-opening. Intelligence isn't measured by how much you know. It's about how you live your life, the way you treat others, and how skillfully you learn from your mistakes. If you want to join our growing community, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. But here's the catch. There are 6 undeniable signs that expose when someone is, well, let's be honest, not exactly wise. Now, before you dismiss this or laugh it off, let me explain why it's so important. Recognizing these signs isn't about looking down on others. It's a chance for self-reflection, growth, and steering clear of these traps in our own lives. And just as crucial, it's about lending a hand to those who might not even realize they're caught in their own cycle of unwise behavior. Come along on this journey of discovery. Together, we'll unravel the 6 unmistakable signs of a foolish person, each one packed with a lesson, a story, and a reflection that holds up a mirror to our own lives. After all, the road to wisdom always begins with awareness. Are you ready to take that first step? Let's dive in. The first sign, a closed mind. A closed mind is nothing less than a fortress of ignorance, constructed brick by brick with fear, pride, and unyielding stubbornness. People like this don't just turn away from new ideas, they actively block their own paths to growth. They confine themselves to a rigid box where everything must align with their familiar rules, viewing anything different as a threat. And their so-called confidence? It's often just a clever disguise. True confidence comes from understanding that no one can know it all. Consider Mark, a department manager at a company I once worked with. Mark was completely convinced that the old ways of working were the best, even though it was obvious his team was falling behind the competition. When a younger employee suggested using modern project management software to boost efficiency, Mark brushed it off without a second thought, saying, "We've done it this way for 10 years, and it's worked fine." The outcome? While other teams in the company thrived with updated systems, Mark's team floundered under outdated processes and poor performance. Yet instead of addressing the real issue, Mark blamed his staff, the market, and even luck. But he never stopped to question his own rigid mindset. A closed mind doesn't just block the flow of new ideas, it stifles the progress of everyone around it. In contrast, wise individuals have no problem admitting they don't know everything and are always ready to learn. As Stoic philosophy teaches, true wisdom isn't about being right all the time. It's about adapting, evolving, and striving to improve. If you recognize this tendency in yourself or someone at work, take note. Embracing innovation not only sparks personal growth, but also builds a more productive and dynamic environment. Have the courage to admit, "I was wrong, and I want to learn." True wisdom can only take root when the walls of stubbornness finally crumble. The second sign, constant blaming. Foolish people are absolute pros at making excuses. To them, nothing is ever their fault. A project flops. The market was too tough. They don't get the promotion. The boss was biased. But let's face it, blaming is just a shield. It's their way of dodging the uncomfortable truth. Yet, that very shield traps them in a prison, cutting off any chance for real growth or self-improvement. Take Lisa, for example, an event organizer I once worked with. She was tasked with planning a major conference, but when the event flopped due to low attendance, Lisa was quick to blame the marketing team, insisting they hadn't promoted it well enough. However, an investigation revealed the real problem. Lisa had failed to send the event details on time, which caused the entire marketing campaign to be delayed. Even after the truth came to light, Lisa stubbornly kept pointing fingers, refusing to own her part in the failure. The fallout? Her colleagues lost faith in her abilities, and Lisa ultimately stepped down from her role. Responsibility may feel like a heavy burden, but it's the key to growth. Wise individuals own their mistakes, not because they enjoy criticism, but because they understand that truth unlocks opportunities for improvement. As Stoic philosophy reminds us, mastering life begins with mastering responsibility. If you catch yourself slipping into a habit of blaming others, take a moment to reflect. Have I truly done everything I could? Is there something I could have done differently? Blaming won't rewrite the outcome, but taking responsibility will transform you. Wise people don't run from their mistakes. They embrace them, learn, and keep moving forward. And guess what? So can you. Choose the path of honesty, growth, and greatness. The third sign, arrogance over humility. Have you ever met someone who always tries to prove they're the smartest person in the room? That's arrogance, a hallmark of a foolish person. Arrogance isn't just a mask for insecurity. It's the ultimate roadblock to growth and wisdom. Genuinely intelligent people know the value of listening more than speaking, because they understand that learning is a never-ending journey. Consider Michael, a manager at a large corporation. In every meeting, he would dominate the conversation, interrupt his colleagues, and even mock their ideas. When the company faced a failed project, Michael pointed fingers at his team, accusing them of not understanding his so-called brilliant ideas. The truth, it was Michael's arrogance and unwillingness to listen that derailed the entire project. When his boss urged him to reflect, Michael couldn't identify a single valid reason for the failure. His arrogance had completely blinded him to any chance of improvement. Humility, on the other hand, isn't about devaluing yourself. It's about shifting the focus away from yourself. It champions learning and teamwork over the need to always be right. As Stoic philosophy teaches, wisdom emerges when we embrace new perspectives and have the courage to say, "I was wrong," while remaining open to growth. If you feel yourself slipping into arrogance, stop and ask, am I chasing recognition, or am I truly committed to growing? True wisdom isn't about making others feel inferior. It's about lifting them up and empowering them to thrive. The fourth sign, lack of empathy. A lack of empathy is one of the most glaring signs of ignorance. It shows an inability to put yourself in someone else's shoes, understand their emotions, or truly grasp what they're going through. Without empathy, people live in isolation, disconnected from real relationships, and often without realizing it, hurt others. This absence doesn't just destroy relationships, it erodes the very core of a person's character. Let me share a story about a colleague named Paul. Paul had a bad habit of complaining about project delays, but he never bothered to understand the reasons behind them. One day, when a coworker named Susan missed a deadline because her son was seriously ill, Paul publicly tore into her in front of the whole team. He didn't care about Susan's situation. He only cared about the results he expected. A year later, when Paul found himself in a similar spot, caring for his sick mother, he finally understood the weight of his heartless criticisms. Lack of empathy doesn't just make someone seem cold. It blinds them to the learning and growth that relationships bring. As Stoic philosophy reminds us, wisdom doesn't come from knowing everything. It grows from connecting with others on a deep, meaningful level. Those who lack empathy don't just fail to enrich their spiritual lives. They shut themselves off from the world, leaving a trail of coldness behind. Remember, empathy is not a weakness. It is the essential bridge to wisdom and true humanity. When you take a moment to listen to someone, not only do you help them, but you also gain priceless lessons for yourself. An empathetic heart enriches your world and allows you to face life's challenges with grace and understanding. If you ever notice yourself lacking empathy, start by listening without judgment. That's the first step toward opening your heart and mind, bringing you one step closer to real wisdom. The fifth sign, fear of change. The comfort zone may feel snug, but it's actually a cage. Those who fear change hold on to outdated habits, even when they're no longer serving them. They're like kids terrified of the dark, too scared to step out into the unknown. But my friends, life is like a river. It's constantly flowing, twisting, and transforming. The wise know how to adapt and keep moving, while the foolish try to hold water in their hands, only to watch it slip away. Take Michael, for example, a man who spent his entire life in one small neighborhood. He knew every corner, every face. When his grown children suggested he move to a new area for better opportunities, Michael refused. "I know everyone here. Why would I go somewhere else?" he said. But then the neighborhood started changing. Old friends moved away, and familiar shops closed down. Michael had no choice but to realize that, despite his resistance, the world kept moving forward. Eventually, he chose to move closer to his children, and only then did he discover that the new surroundings not only offered comfort, but also unlocked opportunities he'd never imagined. The fear of change doesn't just keep us stuck in the comfort zone, it traps us from discovering greater possibilities. Stoic philosophy teaches us that change is inevitable, and only by embracing it with an open heart can we truly live life to the fullest. If you catch yourself avoiding change, ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen? And what's the best that could happen? Life never stays still. If you don't learn to go with the flow, you'll get left behind. Remember, change is the gateway to growth, and resisting it only keeps you stuck in fear. But then the neighborhood started changing. Old friends moved away, and familiar shops closed down. Michael had no choice but to realize that despite his resistance, the world kept moving forward. Eventually, he chose to move closer to his children, and only then did he discover that the new surroundings not only offered comfort, but also unlocked opportunities he'd never imagined. The fear of change doesn't just keep us stuck in the comfort zone, it traps us from discovering greater possibilities. Stoic philosophy teaches us that change is inevitable, and only by embracing it with an open heart can we truly live life to the fullest. If you catch yourself avoiding change, ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen? And what's the best that could happen? Life never stays still. If you don't learn to go with the flow, you'll get left behind. Remember, change is the gateway to growth, and resisting it only keeps you stuck in fear. The sixth sign, talking more than listening. Ever met someone in your family who insists they know everything? They dominate every conversation, constantly interrupting, and rarely taking the time to truly listen. That's a clear sign of someone who talks way more than they listen, a true hallmark of foolishness. These people love the sound of their own voice, disregarding others' opinions and creating tension. This behavior doesn't just harm conversations, it ruins relationships. Let me tell you about John, a father I once knew. Every evening at dinner, John would dominate the conversation. His kids tried to share their school experiences, but John would interrupt to tell his own stories. When his wife suggested ways to improve the family's finances, John quickly dismissed her ideas, convinced that his approach was the only right one. The sad part? John didn't even realize how much his behavior made his family feel ignored and undervalued. His refusal to listen created a growing rift, leaving everyone feeling disrespected and unseen. Listening isn't passive, it's an active skill. It requires real attention and respect for others. Stoic philosophy teaches us that listening is the key to learning and growth. In silence, we uncover deep understanding and wisdom. On the flip side, talking without listening is like planting seeds in dry, empty soil. Nothing will ever flourish. If you recognize yourself in John's story, now's the time to make a change. The next time your child shares something about their day, or your spouse offers a suggestion, take a moment to truly listen. Don't just wait for your turn to speak. Make an effort to understand their perspective. By doing this, you'll not only strengthen your family bonds, but also create an atmosphere of love and respect. Always remember, the wise person listens, the foolish one simply speaks. Final thoughts. We've explored the 6 unmistakable signs of a foolish person. But before you rush off wondering, am I foolish? Hold up for a second. Here's the reality. We've all shown these traits at one point or another. Whether it's arrogance, clinging to our comfort zones, or, let's face it, dominating conversations without listening, we've all been there at some point. Here's the key takeaway. Spotting these signs isn't about pointing fingers, it's about personal growth. Stoic philosophy reminds us that true wisdom doesn't come from always being right, but from constantly learning, owning our mistakes, and being open to change. Each foolish trait is really an opportunity to become wiser. So if you find yourself identifying with any of these behaviors, take it as a chance to evolve. Step out of your comfort zone, listen more, blame less, and welcome change. This journey isn't about being perfect. It's for the brave, the ones who can look inside and say, I can do better. Remember, stupidity may be temporary, but wisdom is a lifelong journey. And on that journey, you're never alone. Keep growing. If you're ready to level up in every aspect of your life, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications for daily updates from us. Thanks for watching.